So it's less than 4 hours before the end of the decade, and to be honest, this is such a last minute video. People are out partying, doing whatever they're doing, spending time with loved ones, and here I am looking in front of a camera just before I start the new decade. And to be honest, this was inspired by a lot of Instagram stories and posts that basically were reflecting, everyone was reflecting on their decade and how they've done really well, or they've had a really tough time this year. And there's a lot that's happened in those 10 years. So literally 10 years ago, I was in year 10, which is pretty crazy to think that since then I've graduated high school. I've lived out most of my teenage years. I've graduated university just 1 year ago. And to be honest, maybe it wasn't worth it. I don't know. I feel like I needed that time, even though I don't think I needed that degree. I feel like I needed that time to grow into myself and really, I guess, come to understand myself a lot better. Over the past 10 years, I've also battled a lot with depression, and thankfully over the last few years managed to manage that a lot better these days and get through a lot of the worst part of it, which was, I guess, not understanding it to begin with and having a lot of doubt and really buying into it. Maybe is not the wrong term, but when you are, I guess, unaware of what's happening to you in your mind, it becomes really difficult to disassociate that, especially when you don't know anything is wrong. It becomes very easy to become highly vested, I guess, in how you're feeling and really let that sort of depression or whatever it is take over your mind and drive you and your decisions. And I feel like even from a few years ago, I feel totally different than what I used to. And that's really been a big exercise in learning more about myself, learning more about how to manage these things and becoming a better person because of it. And it's not an easy thing. It's taken a lot of time, and I definitely feel for the people who are still out there suffering with these kind of mental health conditions, because I can understand it a lot better these days. I feel like I've lived through it, and I know that at most points throughout my journey, I never felt like getting help. In fact, getting help was the last thing on my to-do list. It was kind of like I just enjoyed driving myself into the ground, and that was the whole problem, I guess, with depression. Is it makes you feel like that's a good thing, and it makes you continually do things that are self-destructive. But beyond that, I've also, I guess, lost a few people who are really close to me along the way, and a few relatives. I've lost about 3 close people in my family over the last 10 years, having one just recently passed about 10 days ago now, which is still really recent and fresh. And even though I felt like my 2019 has been pretty good for the most part, obviously I just feel as though there's always these ups and downs which keep happening. As soon as things start to get really, really good, there's a really big crash, and it's just like this natural flow of life. I think it just continually takes you for a bit of a ride, and 1 year is amazing, the next is really difficult. And I think it's always going to be the case. And so, as I said, this video is really inspired by watching people's stories and looking at their posts on Instagram just before the start of the new year. And it's interesting to see the people who, I guess, reflect upon the year really negatively and say that it's been a really challenging year, but then, try and turn that into the positives, and the people who just literally broadcast their life and say, yeah, this was the best year of ever, I've never had a better year. And I think the biggest takeaway for me is to not compare myself to others. I feel like as soon as I started watching those stories, I started feeling, I started reflecting myself, and I was thinking to myself, well, have I had that good of a year? Like, this person's showing all their highlights and have done all these amazing things, and have I done that? Like, how good's my year been? And I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, I have had a really good year. Like, I've had a lot of ups and downs, but you know what? I'm sure they have too. And this isn't just me making myself feel better, but this is just me recognizing that life is the same for a lot of us. I realize that's a really big statement to make and incorrect in lots of different ways. Obviously, life is very different depending on where you're born and how you're born and what country you live in and everything else. But as humans, we kind of adapt, and we kind of always adapt to our situation and our surroundings and our environments. And even if you're someone who's born into a heap of wealth and you're someone who, I guess, has everything given to you on a plate, you have your own issues to deal with. And it's never like life is this smooth sail. We're literally wired to find problems. And I think if you haven't already read it, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a... Do I bleep myself out for this? I don't know. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck book is really good. It's a self-help book, basically. But at the same time, like it raises really good point about how as humans, if you don't have any problems that are, really facing you, your mind is going to make problems. These little things are going to piss you off because you've got nothing else that's really driving you to, I guess, problem solve. And so the whole idea was you want to find problems that you want to solve, right? And that's why you want to get into an industry like something you're passionate about, something you really enjoy. I shouldn't say passion because that's super cliche, but something you really enjoy. And therefore, when you are solving problems, because again, even if I was I'm not saying this is my passion, but even if I was a big time Hollywood director on set right now, my hair would I'd be ripping my hair out because obviously things would be going wrong. I wouldn't just be suddenly living my dream and everything would be amazing, but those problems I'd be solving would be problems that I'd want to solve. So as the decade comes to a close, I think that's my main message, is not to compare yourself to others and to focus on the really good things you have in your life, and not just that, the really good people you have in your life. And even when things start to go bad, or you feel like things are going bad, or things have been really challenging, knowing that they will get better, because that's how life generally works. And even a few years back when I just felt like everything was pretty bleak and I was ready just to end it, and I wish I was saying that casually, but that's kind of what I was feeling and thinking. It's without sounding too cliche, it does get better. It does get better. Usually, if you want to help yourself and help make it better. And I feel like this is a lot of me just rambling on about my thoughts, but I think as tough as it can be sometimes, your mindset is everything. And if you can focus on the positives, if you can focus on pulling yourself out of the negative places that you are potentially. And I say this, and I don't just say this as a preachy sort of thing. I say this because, as I said, my uncle passed away 10 days ago. And it's been very challenging for the family. And, especially my cousins and auntie and everyone else who was involved in that. And as 2019 comes to a close, it's really easy to say, this year's been absolute shit and things haven't gone right. But really, as I reflect more upon it, they have. I've had such an amazing year and things are going so well. And I have amazing people in my life, and I really want to shout out my girlfriend in this particular video for being in a relationship nearly 3 years at this point. And it's crazy to think that that would not have been possible at the start of this decade. Things can change, things can get better, things can obviously get worse. But if you're in it and you're committed to getting better and doing better, I believe you can get there. So bringing it back to this channel, got really serious, but bringing it back to this channel and the fact that I haven't uploaded anything really this year, I've been very, very slack. I have been doing a lot of filmmaking stuff. I still film, I do a lot of corporate gigs. That's my main bread and butter at this point. And I hope 2020, not I hope, but I know 2020, I'm going to be doing way more stuff. I've actually just bought a whole lot more gear. And not that I want to encourage just buying gear left, right, and center, but I do want to talk a bit more about what I've bought. I'm definitely going to be doing some reviews and videos on this stuff really soon. So if you are still subscribed to this channel for whatever reason, God knows why at this point, I will be bringing out more videos in 2020. It's my New Year's resolution. No, it's not. It's my goal to do more videos in 2020 for YouTube, and not find the time, but make the time for these videos. And hopefully I can watch this channel grow a little bit more and build a little bit more of a community, because I enjoy talking about what I do, and I enjoy talking about, and sharing this knowledge with people. So I really hope that this can continue to grow in 2020. So I really want to wish everyone who watches this video all the best in 2020. I hope your decade has been a pretty amazing one. And yeah, hopefully 2020 will be even better for you. And if you've had a pretty rough 2019, I really hope 2020 again is going to be a great year for you, and hopefully you'll bounce back. And even if not, again, it's ups and downs, and you just got to be able to ride them out. I think is the challenge of life sometimes. So yeah, Happy New Year, everyone, and I'll see you in 2020. And I've just realized that filming a video while the sun is going down, which I didn't... Yeah, it's 8:15. Damn. Filming a video while the sun's going down, that was not a good decision, but you know what? You know what? That's all in 2019 now. That's all in 2019. Screw you, 2019.